Jan, welcome to the Data Sommelier Talk Show. I'm very happy to welcome you for this episode. We are going to talk about streaming, what is streaming, but also some Kafka alternative and which conditions or criteria are important to select the right solution for your use case. So, welcome you. And happy to have you. I've seen you on LinkedIn publishing very nice content about Kafka and some other solutions. That I was very motivated to have you on this show and learn from you, and also share what you know about the streaming market and solutions. So, Jan, up to you. Welcome here.
Hi, Stefan. Great meeting you. Thank you for the invite. And maybe to give a very brief background about myself. I've been developing software for I think 10 or 11 years, and my primary background is one it was in building event-driven microservices. And I think the last 5 years of that, I was leading different teams, building this event-driven microservices and using Kafka heavily. And what I saw and what a few of my colleagues saw as well was that Kafka is not really understood well enough to get the most of it. And I think roughly a year ago, we decided to start building this consulting agency. And as part of this, I started publishing to build an audience, but also to learn more about for this was the first time I started writing and publishing, and a huge value that I got from this is that I got a lot of feedback. I refined my ideas and got a lot of insights about what's going on in the industry and what problems the organizations are facing, and a lot has been happening since then. It was a really big change in my work.
Okay. And you are based in Poland, right?
I'm based in Poland, Warsaw, yes.
Okay, good. So yeah, we have shared something very important. We are not all ready about understanding streaming and real-time things, because it's not so easy to understand. It's complex, can be complex. Use case can be complex. And I come from the data side with the analytical side, OLAP side, where we do a lot of things in batch. But applying some real-time concept to the enterprise is sometimes very, very complex.
Yeah, and a while ago we ran this series of webinars with Sachin Tripathi. We called it Data Pools, where we talked about this specific problem, right? The integration between operations and analytics, and streaming and batch and data lake houses and everything like this. So the challenge is that these are very different worlds, right? And they have very different problems they are solving. They have different needs. And I think that streaming first architectures is a discipline that has a good chance of unifying this. And I saw a lot of your content on data mesh, data products, and I think that this is if you have a large enough scale or valuable enough use cases, this is a great way to integrate operations and analytics, and at the same time decompose the whole enterprise into domains. I saw a little bit of it. I'm really glad that I've seen you publishing more and more in English, because now it's more accessible to me. And the first slide that I have prepared, this is in reference to how we met, because I published this viral post in the beginning of August. Confluent published their quarterly results, and it had a sudden drop in price. I posted it very quickly and added a commentary, and it resonated really well. So I wanted to kind of set the context for how we met, and then we started talking, and then about the competitive landscape, and the conversation grew into this conversation that we are having today.
It was a big surprise to see that kind of brutal drop in terms of valuation. And because Kafka is everywhere, right? This has been created years ago. It's well adopted. It's a massive adoption of Kafka, and suddenly, boom, you have this kind of message from the market that something is going bad or wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, Confluent was for a long time was associated very heavily with Kafka, right? That you had Kafka, you could run Kafka yourself, or you could run it on Confluent. And this is kind of I think there are two big reasons that I see behind it on the competitive landscape, on how the industry is developing. Because Confluent used to be way ahead on product, and they were the first ones to introduce tiered storage. They were the first ones to create their own, I think, the first ones to create their own version of Kafka. They call it Cora. And I want to talk about the calendar landscape of events, but I want to set the context a little bit first, because tiered storage was the first major feature, like the really breakthrough feature in the industry. Because what tiered storage means is that instead of replicating whole partitions, you move after some time, let's say 1 hour or 5 hours or 15 minutes, you move the data you have to object storage, and you no longer need to replicate, let's say, 2 weeks of data, but you only replicate the last log segment, and then all of the rest is residing in S3, right? And this brings huge cost savings, and it solves I think the biggest problem in Kafka, which is how heavy it is. Because if you are storing terabytes of data in every partition, and you want to scale up, you cannot do it and keep the cluster balanced. So you had this fancy tools. Cruise control is the most well-known one that help you navigate the process, but then the process of scaling up was hours, sometimes days, because Kafka wasn't scalable before tiered storage, and Confluent was the first to introduce it. And it's a huge it's production ready in Apache Kafka right now. So Apache Kafka has caught up. So this was the first one, and the other shift that I saw, I was one of the first people writing about discless, comparing, like calculating the costs of and trying to understand how do they compare with each other. The discless movement, right? So you've probably heard about WarpStream, but there are a few other solutions to do it. There is AutoMQ, there is Buffstream, there is Tansu, there is also Stream Native Ursa, and Avon came up with Keep 1150, about which you've recorded a webinar as well.
Exact.
So it's a whole thing now. It's no longer a single product, and I don't want to go too deep into this, but these are two huge revolutions that happened in the Kafka space. I want to plug Stan Kozłowski's A Calculator. It's on acalculator.com. You can play around with it to see how much of an impact enabling tiered storage does, and how much of an impact is the pricing model of cloud vendors.
Yeah.
What it does, like it gives you two core value aspects. One is the direct cost savings on cross-AZ networking fees, which are a massive cost. Right now, only in AWS and very significant on GCP. But Azure gave up on cross-AZ networking fees, I think, a year ago. Until then, this was just like 80-90% cost of running Kafka was the cross-AZ networking fees, and discless solutions solve this.
Yeah, exactly. And then can we use that as a description or explication of why the stock price dropped like that? Maybe customers have realized that they pay too much.
So I think that Confluent was I think there are two aspects of it. So why the stock price dropped, I did create a calendar to paint the competitive landscape, right? So in 2020, Confluent was the first one to introduce tiered storage. RedPanda was the second one in 2022, but at the time RedPanda wasn't as big as it is today. So if you wanted to run Kafka, you would either use Apache Kafka or Confluent, and then would consider maybe RedPanda for some situations. And tiered storage brings you huge benefits. So Confluent could still charge a premium fee and then still remain way cheaper than just running Apache Kafka. So in this situation, you are fine to charge premium prices, right? And it always was a premium product. It was the best. I was using the Confluence products, and it's like everything just works, and they have tons of capabilities. Like they have fantastic technologies, and they were way ahead, right? But then the competition started catching up. RedPanda introduced tiered storage, MSK in 2023 introduced tiered storage, and then in I think November last year in Kafka 3.9, the Apache Kafka project finally declared that tiered storage is production ready. So right now it is. If you are running Apache Kafka today and not using tiered storage, please look into it, because it will save you a ton of pain, a lot of money, but also it will make the life of your platform teams also way easier.
So we have a lot of alternatives, and I remember Pulsar. We have invited this company in 2015 or 16, doing a meetup with them. So is it still a very niche market for Pulsar, an alternative? Kafka is mainstream everywhere. What about the real market share of other alternatives?
It's hard for me to judge. I think that the Stream Native, the company that's I think the most well-known Pulsar company, I don't know if there are many others, they are doing pretty well. But I'm not that deep in the Pulsar world. I know that they have solved the pain points of Kafka a while ago, but Pulsar also is a bit more specific, right? It's a bit more complicated architecturally. Kafka is a way more simple pipe. This was designed for it, right? To give you fantastic performance, super high throughput. Pulsar has a lot of very interesting features built in, but it is a bit more complicated, a bit more decoupled. And as a result, I think I saw benchmarks on open messaging benchmarks on Pulsar used with Kafka API, and it has latency that's noticeably higher, still in the very low latency range, like 30 or something, so milliseconds on P99. But it has like half the throughput of Kafka. So if you are running on large enough scale, you might choose the Kafka. But Pulsar also has some really cool features. For example, it allows you to do basic stateless processing on Pulsar. It has something that's really missing in Kafka, which is encryption at rest, which many Kafka vendors have as well. I'll get to that.
Yeah, and it's also a risk to not select Kafka, right? Because Kafka is mainstream, and we know this technology very well, and maybe it depends on the specific use case you are trying to resolve, and this will lead you to select this specific technology or another one. But there's always a risk to not follow the global route or the global path of Kafka. Kafka is the king, right?
Yeah, but Pulsar does implement Kafka API, and all of the products that I will be talking about right now, they are not Apache Kafka. They just implement the Kafka API. Some of them implement this 100%. Some of them implement only the most important APIs. But the way I see it, Pulsar is a Kafka alternative as well, definitely. A great fit for certain use cases.
And also I've understood that the only way to capture some market share is to be API compatible, because no product will be able to completely capture the total market. The only way is to be API compatible and eat day after day sold some small market share.
Yeah, this is the case today, I think. But there are some innovations happening that want to break away from the Kafka API. I think the most there are two very important ones. One is Northgard, which is something that LinkedIn migrated to, and they have a Kafka compatibility layer internally. This is not a product. You cannot start using Northgard today, sadly, but it is there is a compatibility layer, but also it broke away from the Kafka API with something really interesting. They do range splitting and range merging. They parted away with partitions because partitions in Kafka are fixed, and if you don't get your partition count right from the beginning, then you might have some issues down the line, and then migration might be challenging.
Yeah. So this is also another signal. Seeing LinkedIn moving away from Kafka, they invented the concept, they invented the technology, and now they are switching to something different. But okay, LinkedIn is a very specific company. Okay, it's a specific use case, so it's not for standard enterprise. Small and medium company, they don't need this new technology developed by LinkedIn, right?
Yeah. Another non-Kafka compatible solution that I'm really excited about is Flux. It's been announced by Ververica on Think Forward, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, but the project was open sourced by Alibaba, I think November last year. And this summer it was donated to Apache Software Foundation. And it is not Kafka compatible. It is designed for real-time data pipelines. And it uses columnar format. It has a lot of really interesting innovations, but it is not Kafka compatible and probably won't be. So we'll see. As you said, like the way to get mainstream is Kafka API compatibility is really, really important for this. So like I wanted to mention both of those, but I want to talk about Kafka today because I want to narrow down the big problem space to just a moderate size because it's.
Yeah, but who can understand all the landscape of that? It's so many technologies, so many differences, and so.
Yeah, so assuming that you want to be compatible with Kafka, right? And this is very important because of the massive ecosystem, both on the connectors, either open source connectors or proprietary connectors, all of the processing engines, all of databases. Kafka is the default mode. If you have Kafka, you're pretty sure that every solution you are using will have an integration, right? And if you don't have Kafka compatibility, you need to think very comprehensively about the whole architecture that you are building. So it's a huge plus, right? And today we have a lot of alternative products to Apache Kafka. We have RedPanda, of course. We have all of the discless solutions that also solve a huge pain point. However, this comes at a price because discless solutions are discless or stateless, however you call it. It depends on on the solution itself. But what drew me to the idea, the most impactful thing that's very visible is the direct cost savings on this huge part of Kafka costs, which are across AZ traffic. But what drew me to it in the first place is that building event-driven microservices, the microservices are always stateless, right? And here you no longer have a data platform. You have more or less a stateless service that kind of translates, exposes a Kafka API, but translates this to persisting and serving data from S3 directly. And it gives you extreme simplicity, great elasticity. Scaling is like you can scale up or down in seconds, and you basically solve this problem completely. And it's just elegant. I did publish a post not long ago about how lightweight can you go, and with Kafka, the minimal baseline cost is like $450 a month for like free Kafka instances. This is the minimal cluster. But two solutions that are listed here, Buffstream and Tansu, you can run a Kafka-compatible platform for like $20 a month. Single instance connected to a serverless SQL database, Aurora, in my calculations. And this can get extremely lightweight. So a lot of the pain points of Kafka are being solved. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So about RedPanda, I've heard some rumors about Snowflake being interested by the technology. So it would make sense to have a vendor like Snowflake acquiring this RedPanda technology. because the trend for Snowflake is to make things easier and easy. So having a kind of streaming solution that is easy to deploy, easily integrated in a kind of global data platform, that would make sense. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, and we saw the acquisitions from both Snowflake and Databricks, the acquisitions of serverless Postgres databases, right? So clearly they are moving into the operational transactional world. So I'm betting on them introducing some Kafka compatible solution at some point. It's hard for me to judge what solution will it be. I'm not deep enough on this side of the market to have a strong opinion. Something that I wanted to look back to, because we talked about the Confluent stock price drop, right? So one thing is that the competition is catching up. That we have tiered storage in more and more products, and also we have discless, which also is kind of a competitive problem, competitive product. It does implement Kafka API, so it will eat some of the Kafka consumption. But another big thing that happened in 2024 is that Confluent did pivot to Flink. It's the second block from the bottom in 2024, which was really big. And the quarterly results were the first time where they disclosed the revenue from Flink, because until then Confluent was building on they had Kafka streams, they were promoting it heavily, they had Kafka streams, they had KSQLDB, and the stream processing, which is a very important way of getting value out of data streaming. They pivoted completely, right? They acquired Limerock in 2023, and then after building in some capabilities, they started offering Flink. So this was a great decision in my eyes, but very costly in short term, right? And then they published the first financial results. Even though the usage was growing rapidly, I don't remember the exact numbers, but this was like 25% quarterly. So this was the first time they disclosed this information, and markets don't like surprises. Apparently, the assumptions were that this would be bigger. Hard to say. And also
So pivoting to Flink is maybe a good idea, but who can manage Flink? I've heard that it's a little bit complex to implement, and it's not for all enterprise, right? You have to be very skilled to manage that. Do you confirm that, or they did improve their solution in terms of ease of use?
The way it's being used in Confluent right now is that Confluent has two core deployment models, right? You have Confluent Platform, which means that you just get the unique products, and then you self-host, and then gets support from the Confluent side. And you have Confluent Cloud, which is the easy way of them running everything. And here they have Flink SQL. Sadly, the part that was missing, I'm not sure if it still is, because we had current. I'm waiting for Confluent to announce that you will be finally able to deploy your own Flink jars into Confluent Cloud and run them there. I think that right now this capability is missing. You can still run Flink SQL jobs, but you cannot do everything in them. So the pivot is still going on, but they already have integrated this with many tools. They have a really cool feature, snapshot queries, which allows you to define a SQL query, and it will in parallel execute an analytical query on the Iceberg database, and for the data that wasn't moved to Iceberg with Tableflow at this point in time, you just query Kafka, right? So you consume a very small fragment of data in Kafka, and then you consume whole events, and then you run a proper analytical query with predicate pushdown and column skipping on Iceberg. So it's Flink is getting integrated, and it is getting a lot of the AI-related features, I think. I'm not very deep in that. So the pivot is progressing. They are catching up, but this was, I think, a huge event for them to kind of let go of a lot of the unique value they had because they thought that that Flink would be better for them strategically. And yeah, I mean, I fully agree, but it was just hard, good, costly decision.
Yeah. And you have mentioned Iceberg. We can see a slow adoption of Iceberg. Many large enterprise are very interested by Iceberg, and I've seen I did some interview of a large enterprise, and they've switched not totally but partially to Iceberg to avoid this vendor lock-in, and they've announced Tableflow more than 1 year ago. Where are we today with this table flow, so this Kafka to Iceberg connectivity?
Yeah, so Tableflow was announced in 2024, if I remember correctly, but it was in private preview. I did apply, but I don't really have my own enterprise, so I didn't really get access at this stage. But they did go public this year, I believe. And also, all of the discless solutions have Iceberg integration. This is something really cool about startups, that they really try hard to provide unique value and differentiate. And I really love to see the Kafka Iceberg integration. Because it will make things a lot simpler for a lot of organizations. So Tableflow runs as a separate process that connects your Kafka topic and your Iceberg data and your Iceberg table, and moves this data continuously and orders them in an Iceberg optimized way and takes care of the compaction. And it's a really cool way if you have proper event modeling in place and kind of logical data architecture in place, right? Because if you are moving data with CDC from your 10 different Postgres tables or Oracle tables into Kafka, and you get this dirty Debezium events, and then don't care about cleaning it up or modeling this properly using domain-driven design or just thinking about business events instead of database tables, then you won't get as much value from it, right? But if you take care of this part, and Flink can help a lot with modeling, then you can get way simpler architectures. You can shed a lot of unnecessary complexity from your setup, and
I think customers are looking for simple architecture or simpler architecture, and they are doing everything to make it simple. And I was really amazed by the success of DBT, this transformation tool. So it's nothing about streaming or real time, but people like SQL, they like to do simple things and a simple product. And sometimes I have the feeling that real time and streaming is very complex, or can be very complex.
Yeah, it can be, and there are a lot of ideas on how to do it. I did a surface level analysis of the landscape of streaming SQL solutions. And there are a lot of promising solutions out there, and it seems that this is the area that's less established than stream storage, because Kafka is in the stream storage category, right? And there is also stream processing. The way I see in general, data streaming is the three pillars. There is stream storage, there is stream processing, and there is stream governance. Or data governance in general, and this stream storage is getting commoditized, and we are getting really close to covering only the absolutely necessary infrastructure costs. I did a lot of cost comparisons, and with the most cost optimized solution, if you are running discless, if you are then you end up with most of your costs being the S3 costs, and just S3 storage costs, not the API costs. But it's so we are really getting close to the absolute necessity, the most cost optimized storage format that there is out there.
Yeah. Okay. So cost will drive everything again and always.
And it's really hard to charge vendor fees that would be 75% of the total infra cost, right? As I said before, with tiered storage providing so much value, you could charge your vendor fees and still be way more cost efficient than running there. But right now we are, for the good of everyone, there is a race to the bottom, and because the market is maturing, and that's fantastic for the customers.
Okay, so what's next? What's the future? What the roadmap of that, or what do you think about the market?
So I think that the two main areas where the vendors will differentiate and where the innovation is happening right now is stream processing and stream governance, or data governance in general. But with stream platforms essentially being data platforms, or aspiring to be data platforms, they will innovate there. I think that this area is the most lacking today. Confluent is the leader right now in stream governance, which is something that I'm a big fan of. I think that if you want to really govern your stream, there are only two mature solutions. There is Confluent and there is Conductor. Conductor is not a streaming platform; it's a proxy, right? And kind of the control plane for Kafka. So, but all of the rest is, I think, quite behind. They just it's not an area that got so much attention as directly optimizing infra cost. It's, I think, harder to sell.
Yeah, it was in my plan to interview conductor people, but I will do it maybe.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's a really cool product, and what's really cool about it is that it will work with every Kafka solution, right? Because it's a proxy. And there is also one more very interesting proxy that maybe I'll skip to one of the last slides here for a second. I will come back to this one, but there are two big features that are lacking in Apache Kafka. One, in my eyes, of course, one is the lack of encryption at rest, and the other one is lack of schema enforcement. And vendors provide this. Not all of them provide all of those, but both features you can get with a proxy that is being developed by Red Hat. It's called Croxylicious. If you feel the pain of it, check it out. Because a lot of people probably assume that data in Kafka is encrypted. It's not. You have encryption in motion, right? HTTPS, TLS, and so on. But and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a really cool idea. We are exploring like running this at Kentra in the background to kind of build up our own platform. But what's next? I want to come back to this. This is the Confluence data streaming maturity curve that was published, I think, in 2018. And it's I think at the time it was hypothetical way of adopting or embracing data streaming as a whole enterprise. And in the early stages, you are using Kafka, either experimenting with it or maybe doing this in a less connected way. And this stage is getting very commoditized because if you don't use it as this central nervous system, I like this term, this description, then you just need stream storage. You need very cost efficient serving and reading data, and then the value that unique capabilities bring, they don't bring that much value to you. But the moment you start using Kafka across the whole enterprise and start doing data exchange at scale, then at this moment you will get a lot of value from this sophisticated stream processing solutions. You get a lot of value from governance that you can build on top of it, because if you no longer have point-to-point integrations that maybe someone is using the CTL tool, another one is using Debezium, and another one is maybe publishing data manually. But if you have a single Kafka platform that can just handle, you decouple everything, right? And also you don't have this many like MuleSoft integration solutions, but you have a single protocol over which everything integrates. You can build cost efficiently build sophisticated capabilities on top of it. For example, schema enforcement, like schema management. There's some products are innovating on semantic validation, which is something that's I think way bigger in analytics than it is in operations. But you can do this with Kafka as well. So to instead of just making sure that schema is correct and you can serialize and deserialize, you can say that yeah, this human has an age of 520, something is wrong, right? This is faulty data. You might prevent it, you might flag it, and then just ping someone that's you have a violation of your semantic rules. But if you use Kafka in this way, then you can build, because you have a single platform over which your
Yes.
domains communicate, right? And
So it's a kind of mindset. I've seen some companies ready with this real-time mindset, and as soon as you start from scratch with this real-time mindset, you can use Kafka or real-time alternative. So
yeah.
but the nature of the project, what I've seen until now is it's still very batch oriented or micro batch oriented, but. It's a matter. It's not only a tool issue or an architecture issue. It's also about mindset of people and how you build application.
Yeah, I mean, microbatch is good because it is still near real time, right? Depend on what your microbatch frequency is, but you can still get like continuous flow of data. So for some use cases, you really need this like 10 milliseconds, 20 milliseconds level latency. And for this, right now there are no better alternatives to the Kafka protocol because Kafka publishes messages like whole events, right? And this is a row-oriented system. But with Spark microbatching and with Flux as well, you get columnar microbatches, and then it gives you a lot. It gives you very efficient analytical pipelines, but it's I don't think it will go to this levels of latency that you can get with Kafka. But yeah, sometimes I'm surprised by how quickly the world is developing. So I'm looking forward to being surprised here as well.
Yeah, and the promise a few months ago was to combine OLTP with OLAP with real time in one single engine. I think we are still not at this level of maturity right now, right? We still have different engines for different use case, and this will never change, right? I remember some announcement from Snowflake as they wanted to provide some OLTP features to their data platform. So that's why they have acquired some Postgre-like technology, but it's still different engines for different use case.
I mean, on the platform side, I think that the vendors are getting here, and the two leaders here are Confluent and Ververica. Confluent has because with Kafka is super optimized for writes, right? So you can just write to the write ahead log, and every database, every modern database has a write ahead log at the bottom anyway. So you can just append data to it log, and then the question is how often do you materialize it? I think that it is very possible. I think that we are definitely moving in this direction. And Confluent has, Kafka and Iceberg integration and Tableflow and Flink snapshot queries on top of it, so you can get really close to it. And Ververica has Flux and VeraX, which is also an alternative that tries to implement the solution or implement this approach. So I think we are definitely getting there. The Kafka and Iceberg integration is a reality right now. Avon has published. Avon is the vendor that pitched the discless keep. They published
Yes.
discless keep, but also a few months later they published a very early Iceberg mode into their tier storage plugin, because they also have I think the most widely used tier storage plugin, where you can materialize this data to Iceberg and then have this in Apache Kafka. I don't consider it production ready yet, but we are getting there. And the integration, if you can publish to Kafka and then have this data accessible in OLAP systems, it doesn't matter if it's in one complex platform or is this in a system that's composed of well integrated few different platforms. What the logical result is that you have a way to write at very low latency, and then you can consume this in different query patterns, whether you need to have event-driven microservices that consume every event and react to this in milliseconds, or you have real-time data pipelines that can react to this in seconds. I think that we are really close to this, and the bleeding edge service providers, this here Confluent and Verberica, are they are more or less ready to build a lot, but yeah, that's I don't know how the adoption looks like. I haven't seen many production stories that kind of implement this idea on a larger scale. So I'm really looking forward to reading. I really like this kind of articles where people describe large organizational transformation into streaming.
Yeah. So thank you, Jan. I think we are at the end of this presentation, right? And thank you for the brief of that. I understand that still are moving fast, but we still have two worlds: the batch world and the streaming world, and maybe we can see some connection between the two, but it's two different mindsets. And I'm curious to see how this market will mature, and how this streaming real-time adoption will be implemented in enterprise. So thank you, Jan, for that. We have a lot of additional topics we could cover, do a zoom off on a specific, I don't know, RedPanda or Pulsar technology, but I will be more than happy to host you again for a specific topic.
Thank you, Stefan, and yeah, it was a pleasure.
Thank you, Jan. Talk to you soon.
Bye bye.